Alright, so first question is your name, title, and organization that you work with.
My name is Kristine Amatuli. I am a permanent lecturer for anatomy and physiology at the University of North Florida.
How would you describe a typical day/week on your job?
I teach classes every day, and then when I'm not in class, I'm preparing for lecture or lab or one of the committees that we're required to be on every semester.
And what is a brief description of what you do?
So I have to write my lecture.
Mm-hmm.
I have to write tests, grade. I have to come up with new activities every semester. So a lot of my time is spent just kind of tweaking the class every semester. Make my PowerPoints, read through new material for things that have come up since I taught the class last, even if it was, I teach it every semester, but there's always something new.
Sure. How did you get into this field?
I decided to go to grad school because I didn't really like what my undergraduate degree was in. I wasn't that interested in it, and I got into biology. I got into a master's program, and it required me to be a teaching assistant, and that's kind of what got the ball rolling.
Gotcha. Which majors are most successful with securing employment in this field?
As far as being a professor,
yes.
I think no matter what field you're in, if you have experience in it, so grad school is probably the best thing that you can do, I think. First of all, I didn't even know that I wanted to teach until I got to grad school and kind of got thrown into it as just a side part, but I ended up loving it, and then I did it for 3 years, and I think people noticed that I can communicate well with students, and so that got me an adjunct position, which led to a visiting position, which then led to me applying for a permanent job, which I got a year ago.
Here? Okay. Wait, a year ago?
I've been a visitor for 3.
Because I had you for 2 years ago.
Yeah, I was a visiting lecturer.
Oh, okay.
So that means just every year I had to cross my fingers and hope that they asked me back.
Okay. What are the most satisfying aspects of your job?
Definitely the students. I like when they ask me questions because they're interested, not when they ask me questions because they want me to hand them the information, but when they're curious, when they ask for my help, and they actually listen, when I make something easier or when I make something make more sense to them and I kind of see the light go on, that's the best part of this job.
That's good. What frustrations or drawbacks do you experience in this position?
I don't really have a lot of frustrations for this job. Sometimes I get frustrated when people ask me, because I don't know if it's just the age group that I'm dealing with, but there's also a lot of information for this class, and a lot of people want to know bare minimum, what do I need to know to just make it through? And because this is their major, or they're going into some kind of health field, or nursing, or physical therapy, or sports science, I don't like that question when they just want to know, tell me what's on the test, because you're going to need to know it at some point, even if it's not in my class. You're going to need to know it in the job that you want to go into, or this is like the basis of knowledge for what you're going to build on later. So everything is important.
Sure, because that's what separates a good student from
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest frustration, but I have very few of those people every semester.
Gotcha. How often do you travel, and for how long?
For the job?
I guess in general, or?
I travel for the job very minimally. I try to go to conferences. So I went to the Anatomy and Physiology Conference, which was in Atlanta this summer. And it was just 5 days of all A&P people that were kind of handing out books that I tried to pick up, just any new information that I can get to teach in a different way. The more different variations there are for you guys to look at it, the better off everyone is, I think.
So when you go to those conferences, do you apply?
Yeah, you have to apply, you've got to pay, you've got to drive or fly. So this one was in Atlanta and I drove, but I went to one in Austin a couple of years ago and I had to fly.
Right.
So not usually once a year, just for a conference.
Is it required to?
No.
It's not. You just do it for.
Yeah, I just think I'm the only lecturer, so I like having. I like when you're in the same department, sometimes everyone kind of gets into a routine.
Yeah.
So I like seeing what other schools do. I've got a friend at JU that I talk to a lot about because she teaches the same thing, but at a different school. So it's just good to have other people to see how they do it.
Okay. What percentage of the time is spent utilizing computers?
Let's see. I'd say probably half the time at least, just because I've got to make my PowerPoints, I've got to answer my emails, and then inputting grades and stuff like that. It's not a ton, really.
Okay. What time is spent interacting with people?
I would say that's probably the bulk of it, so probably 50 or 60% of it. That usually kids are sending me emails because they want to meet, or they have a question, and a lot of times it's easier for me to sit down with them and draw it out. Yeah, so probably half.
And then what time is spent writing reports?
I don't really write any reports. I always do like a grade compilation to see how everyone's doing. Today I just submitted everyone's midterm grades.
Okay.
And at the end of the semester I always rank to see the grade distribution and how that compares to other semesters, and so I changed this one thing, did that improve the grade or not. So, but I don't have to write any reports. I have to write reports on myself, my annual evaluation.
And what does that consist of?
It consists of me telling the chair of the department what I taught, what I did for service, and the committees that I was on, my progress, if I thought that I did well, if I think the things I could have done better. So that has to be done every year, but not till the end of the 2017 year.
Do they review all your how your grades are?
They'll look at my grade distribution, they look at my ISQs, and they look at my annual evaluation.
And if say your average grade last year was a 74, and then it got raised, or say it got lowered to a 69, does that take into account to your?
Not really. He'd probably ask if something happened or if I changed something. But if there were a bunch of comments from one semester that were saying something bad, they all said the same bad thing, that would be hey, what's going on with this?
Okay.
For the most part, those little random ones, not everyone's gonna like you.
Yeah.
But if it's something like she never told us that a test was coming up or something, all of her tests were pop quizzes, that would be something that you're talking about.
Okay. How much contact do you have with people outside of your organization?
I think a lot. I don't know in comparison to other teachers, but like I said, I am always making sure that I am offering the most that I can, and that I have the best way to teach possible. So I harass a friend at JU very frequently. I talked to a friend of mine that used to teach this that now lives in Alaska to see what she used to do. I'm still new at this and I'm still perfecting it, but I don't ever want to just keep it the same and just repeat it over and over again. So I think I make a lot of contact with people. A lot of people, we get these emails from random people that are trying to sell you stuff, and I always email them back because I want a free trial, and I want you guys to try it, and I want you to see if you like it. The draw it to know it, and the sapling learning. Those are things that people contacted, and they're trying to sell me.
Yeah.
And if they sell it to me, that means that's 200 students every semester that are going to buy it. That's why I always make it suggested but never required.
Okay.
So we get the free trial. You guys test it out. If it's something that was perfect and that was amazing, but I don't even require mastering A&P, and that's from our book.
Would the school, say for the draw to know it, if it was something that helped and you saw a significant raise in everyone's grades, would the school then fund it? Or?
I don't know that they would fund it. It's actually not that expensive, but if I could get other people on board, if it wasn't just anatomy using it.
Okay.
So if I talked to GB1, GB3, and they saw that it benefited their classes too, that would be something that we could do for sure.
Okay. And then what is the relationship with these people, the ones that you talk to outside of the organization?
Most of them are strangers that are trying to sell me stuff, honestly. They're trying to get, a lot of them are book reps. And so like I said, anytime we require a textbook, you guys buy it, well, they get a lot of the money, right? So Pearson is who has our anatomy book.
Yeah.
Well, McGraw-Hill wants me to switch to them because then they get that money.
Gotcha.
So a lot of them are book reps, but then others are just colleagues and friends that I've either known before I ever had this job and just happen to have the same one. Some of them are from grad school that are out doing other things but still can, have things to add. One of my friends from grad school is a herpetologist at Disney, but she sends me a lot of articles because she knows I teach anatomy and physiology. So some friends, people that I've met at conferences, which is what it's for, and then a lot of book reps.
Okay, so how important would you say networking is.
I think it's huge. I mean, it's important to not have tunnel vision and think that this is the best way and this is the only way. I don't know. And so every year it's like another set of guinea pigs that I'm testing on, you know. And if I see that something works, like I'm happy with my PowerPoints, I still go in every semester and make sure that I don't have too much information, I don't have too little. But at the same time, I'm going from the same book, I'm the same person.
Yeah.
So I need other outside ideas. So I think it's really important.
Okay. How does your career affect your lifestyle? Like the amount of work, time, of leisure, travel, outside interests?
I mean, I guess my world centers around this. You know, this comes first, and then everything else is like, what can I fit around it? One of the things about this job that is not a frustration, but it just is part of it. I don't have an 8 to 5 job. You know,
Gotcha.
a lot of people think, oh, when I say I'm done at 12, that means I'm done being somewhere that I have to be at 12. But that means I've got meetings and I have to prepare, and I've got the rest of the time to do that. Well, I can get some errands run in the middle of the day, but by tomorrow at 8 a.m. I have to be ready to lecture.
Yeah.
So I like it. I actually love it. Like, I like that I don't have to sit at my desk from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I like that I can, okay, if I have an appointment this afternoon, I can come back at 4, but I might be here until 9.
Gotcha.
You know, so I don't know, I think it's great. It's very easy to work with.
So you like the schedule that you're
I love it.
Okay.
And I like that it changes every semester. I don't get bored easily, but I think I could if I had to
sit at a desk all day?
All day,
yeah.
For the same, every year, do the same thing. I get new kids every semester, I get new schedule every semester.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting, I'm
yeah.
gonna lie. What educational degrees, licenses, or credentials are required for entry and advancement in your kind of work?
You definitely need at least a master's. They won't look at you without that now. To teach at a college level.
Okay.
You can teach with just a bachelor's, like in high school and stuff like that, if you have a teaching certificate, but you at least need a master's for this.
Do you have any licenses, like?
Not for teaching. I've got licenses for other stuff, but not for anatomy and physiology. I have my master's and a couple of bachelors.
Do you have any, like, I don't know, because I know you work with, like, the gopher tortoises and stuff like that. Like, do you have any, like?
Yeah, I have licenses to handle an endangered species or a protected species, like IACUC permits and stuff like that. But it doesn't pertain to like my teaching load. That was my research stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
What skills or personal characteristics, traits, values do you believe are necessary or helpful for success and satisfaction in this organization?
I think patience is the biggest part of it, and I think you have to be optimistic. I think I get frustrated with people that think that students ask stupid questions because that's what you're here for.
Yeah, I used to hate that, because I had a chem professor who did that.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of just like makes you not want to learn
right.
at all.
So our basis of knowledge is different, right? Because this is what I do every day. So you can't say like what a ridiculous question something is. It's frustrating if I say something and someone immediately is like, did you mean this, and this? I'm like, that's exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
But if it's like out of the clear blue sky, there is no stupid question because that's what you're paying me to do. You're telling me you want me to teach you this. So I think patience is a huge part of it, and I can understand that being difficult because some students do kind of ruin it for the rest of them. But you kind of have to wipe the slate clean with every new person that walks in. You know, what the person that came in 5 minutes before you did has nothing to do with you. So it wouldn't be fair for me to take out my frustrations on you.
Yeah, I understand. So
I think patience is the biggest thing. I think you have to love this job because it is a lot of work and it's not set hours. You know, I always say I don't check my email after 6 o'clock at night. It's very rare that I don't. It's just a matter of how important is this for me to, like I have a really hard time not emailing you guys back if I see an email at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So it's hard because you can end up having an 80-hour work week and not notice it. So you have to love it, and you have to think it's fun, and patience. I think those are the biggest things.
Okay.
I think if we don't think it's fun, you guys can tell. if we don't love the subject, or if we are not really into teaching and you'd rather do research or whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing, because like you and Hatley are two of the like bio professors that like you can tell that you love your job, like when you're like making jokes or like you're just like making it like fun or like interacting with students, rather than like some of the professors who just sit up there and lecture. Then when you have a question, they answer and they say, "Can we move on?"
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just trying to like, you feel like they're just trying to get out of here.
Right. It matters. If you love it, then I think it's easier for you guys to learn. You're more receptive to it, and because it's easier for you guys to ask questions if you're not nervous that you're bothering us, or
Yeah, that's
you
one
guys
of the
should never.
biggest things.
Yeah, you guys should never know, like anything that's going on outside of this building. You guys, it doesn't matter to you. You know, you should never know if I'm stressed out. You should never know if I have another job. Nothing. You should not know any of that, because right now I'm your teacher, and that's all that matters.
And it's so easy for like us to pick up on it, because then no one wants to ask questions, and then you sit there and like you're like, damn, I need to learn this.
Yeah.
But what are the trade professional groups to which you belong, and which do you find most beneficial to your work?
So I belong to most of the stuff that pertains to my teaching or research. So I belong to HAPS, which is Human Anatomy and Physiology Society. That's the conference that I go to. I think that's the most beneficial to me, because when I go, a lot, like I said, they're trying to sell me all of those books. Well, I got them for free, and I can take a lot of those pages, photocopy, just little excerpts. You guys don't need the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, and I've met a lot of people at these conferences that I've maintained contact with and just kind of ask questions. There's a group email that goes around and I just kind of look at the subject to see if I need it or not. So that's the most useful. I'm also a member of SICB, which is comparative biology. I really like that one because sometimes they send articles. A lot of it is like endocrine physiology stuff, but a lot of times they'll send me articles, and that's the stuff that I kind of talk about in class, just kind of as extra. So it's helpful but not necessary.
Yeah.
And then my research as a grad student was with herpetology, so I'm a member of the Go for Tortoise Council and ICS and herps and stuff like that.
Do you still work with any of that stuff now?
Yeah.
Or you do? Oh, that's cool. How do people usually learn about the job opening in your field?
I think a lot of us were grad students that taught, and then like the professors here were like, hey, so-and-so's looking for an adjunct position, or a lot of grad students went to FSCJ. They get these teaching jobs that last a semester, and then maybe they decide that they like it and they go somewhere else to teach, or they stay there, or they try to come back here. So I think being in this field and knowing people helps, because they'll send you. I still have people that are sending me job opportunities because I've only been permanent here for a year.
Yeah.
So I wanted to stay here, and I was kind of like just saving all of them. When I applied for this job, I applied for 50 others too.
Okay.
So once you're in it, then those teaching jobs kind of pop up randomly, and you jump on it because they're
So do you have to become a TA here before?
No, no, not at all. I mean, most people didn't go to grad school here and then have the same path, but they were all of us were in grad school somewhere, and all of them were TAs there. And then if they had their PhD, they were probably teaching assistants as PhDs too, and if they're tenure track, teaching is part of it. So it's just kind of a given, but that's where everyone's more concerned about their research. But the people in my position that are just permanent faculty members, they pretty much did the same thing, just not necessarily all at UNF.
Okay. What do you wish you had known about this career field before you entered it?
Honestly, the only I don't have any regrets really, but the only thing I wish I had known was so no one in my family had gone to college before, so I was the first one that got through college, and then I didn't even know what grad school was.
Yeah.
And so when I wish I'd known about it sooner. I don't think I wasted my undergrad. My undergrad is in engineering, and so it's a really good background to have, but I didn't start with the same basis of knowledge of biology when I got to grad school. So I tried everything that I could in my undergrad, but I think I just did engineering because I was like, well, I need a job and I'll be able to find one.
Yeah.
And then I thought when I was done, I was like, I don't love this. So I just wish I had known about this being an option. When you're 18 and someone says, pick classes based on what you want to be when you grow up.
It's kind of hard.
I had panic attacks. I had no idea. And I didn't know until I was 24 and in grad school and teaching that I was like, oh, this is it. I just want to do this all the time.
Yeah.
I want to play in the dirt and I want to teach kids. You know? So.
Wait, so did you have like, did you do any internships and like shadowing beforehand?
When I was in engineering, I did. Yeah, I had to do. I worked for the Army Corps of Engineers and I worked for an engineering firm and stuff like that. But I didn't like it. And then one of my friends actually was the one that said, well, why don't you go to grad school? And then I started looking into it. I was like, what is this? But I looked at the class list for biology, and I was like, wait, there's a class for herps, and there's a class for fish, and there's a class for mammals, and there's a class for, and it sounded so much fun.
Yeah.
So that's what, that I wish I'd known about that sooner.
Gotcha. Are there any books or periodicals that you would recommend?
For the job? For, like, what I do?
I guess in a general sense, like, to me as a student or to this job field in general?
The other thing that I wasn't familiar with when I got to grad school that's really helpful and what matters the most is peer-reviewed journals.
Yeah.
I still do actually just kind of renew my subscription every year to some journal. There's a few that I always get, like Endocrine Physiology I always get, Gopher Tortoise I always get. There's some journals, but I don't know, I think it's good to see those peer-reviewed articles more. They're interesting, and if you're planning on going to grad school, it helps you build a question. And that was another thing. When I got to grad school, I didn't have a question in mind. I just knew I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So it took me my first year to develop that and write a proposal and stuff.
Gotcha.
So peer-reviewed journals for a subject that you're interested in, I think would be good.
And where'd you go?
For grad school?
Yeah.
Oh, to UNF.
Oh, really? What are your personal future career plans?
So I love what I'm doing and very happy. I tried to go, no, I didn't try. I got into all my PhD programs that I applied to, but then they asked me if I wanted to stay and do this, and I did. So at some point I want to go back and get my PhD, but really I'm doing what I love, so I don't need it. It would pretty much just be kind of hanging on the wall and say that I have it because I feel like I'm so close now.
Yeah.
But I want to just keep teaching. I'm hoping I get more classes, and I love AP1. I'd like to go back and forth between AP1 and AP2 a little bit more, but I'm very happy.
Can they switch you to AP2 also?
Yeah, I taught AP2 last summer. I also taught principles last summer. I'm the only AP1 lecturer right now, so that's why I always have it in the fall and the spring. Sometimes at Colosimo we'll get AP1 in the summer for those small classes, and I get AP2. So it's like I said, it switches every.
Like, do you ever have the option to like go to them and tell them that you want to switch over something?
Sometimes the chair now, he's very cool. He sometimes will say like, "Do you want this, or should I give it to her, and I'll give you something else?"
Okay.
But for the most part, we just get our schedule sent to us.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
What special advice would you give to a young person entering your field?
I think that the grades matter, so your GPA does make a difference. It just makes you look better for secondary schools, if you're interested in grad school. So when I was and I don't say that because when I was an undergrad, I just kind of got by, because engineering was really hard for me, and I thought, I just need to be done with this and take the PE, and I'm done.
Yeah.
And then when I got done, my GPA wasn't great, but I had that engineering degree, and that's the only reason that they accepted me, because they wanted me to do beach renourishment, which is not what I ended up doing, but paying attention in school, and trying as many different things as possible, that's how you can figure out what you like. Do all of it, right?
Yeah.
Get involved in every club you can think of, even if you don't think it's going to be your type of thing. Meet as many people as you can, talk to as many people as you can, ask as many questions as you can, because that's how you're going to figure out what you want to do. I mean, the more you do, the more you can kind of check it off, like, okay, I tried that.
Yeah, because that's what we're learning now about, like, how internships are, like, super important, or how going to just, like, shadow a person around to see if you're, like, truly interested, because if you're wasting your time here and your money, then
Yep. So a lot of people, when I did my internship with the Army Corps, that was how I learned that I loved field work. So when I started looking at grad schools, that was the only reason I even looked at biology, because they almost kind of try to scare you away, because I did the ecology side of it. And so when I met my advisor, he's like, it's 8-hour field days from April through the end of October, and you got to carry this pack, and you got to dig holes. And I'm like, yes, I don't want to sit at a computer. I want to do that. So, but I knew that I did, and I knew that I could. But when I was in grad school, I would have undergrads come out with me, and they would last a day sometimes, and because it was so hot, it's dry. You know, like tortoise doesn't mean it's in the water; it means sun, dry land. So it's good, but it's good. I'd rather they figured it out as an undergrad, and I lost a volunteer, instead of going to grad school and quitting the program halfway through.
Yeah.
You know, so try it all.
Because that's a lot of money and time wasted.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of training, and it sucks.
Yeah.
You know, like if you don't like it. If you like digging in dirt, then it's great. But if not, you got to know that.
And that's what you found out, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that was about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was easy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.